welcome to the first episode of the Ruck Off with me, Elliot, and Stigo. So, Stigo, how's your weekend been?
Yeah, it's actually been really good. Watching rugby. Probably saw the game of the weekend for me today, this afternoon, with Northampton playing Bath, which we'll talk about in more detail later. But yeah, besides the obvious game yesterday, which I'm sure we'll dig deep into later on in the episode, yeah, it's been solid. Lots of decent rugby on, lots of clashes. So it's obviously been hard for me and you to watch all the rugby, get some information, but I think we've managed to do it. How's yours been?
Yeah, pretty much the same. Plenty of rugby to watch, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting and digging into each game.
Yeah.
So, Stigo, do you want to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I've been playing rugby union since I was 5. Still enjoying it, obviously. Been lucky, no major injuries. Still love it. I coach as well, which I have massive passion for. Obviously, a bit interested in other sides of the game at the minute. We'll probably have a look into that in the near future. Been playing rugby league the last few years, which I love. Such a different game, and I think this is really good because obviously it's a rugby podcast. We're not ruling out league. We're not ruling out union. We're going to talk. We're going to cover both. We want guests on from both codes because we think they're equally as amazing for the sports. I think this podcast is going to be really interesting because obviously we've got the perspective of me, a player, and a coach, roughly a coach, more of a player, and Elliot, who's going to explain about his refereeing career so far. So yeah, Elliot, do you want to talk about yourself a bit?
Yeah, so I started playing when I was under 13s for my local club, Colville, and went through the age groups to Colts level. In terms of refereeing, I was refereeing in the club through the age groups, and I managed to get on a RFU course to my level 1 and 2. And then when the Colts team disbanded, I then took up refereeing sort of, in a sense, full time, and ruled out playing. And then from there, I've gone through junior level refereeing, and then managed when I was the appropriate age to do adults. And yeah, I managed to, my last level I finished out was level 6 because I've had a 2-year break, but I'm hoping to get back into that soon.
Yeah, so I don't know about you, but I'm thinking there's loads of rugby podcasts and we understand this. And we've even thought this ourselves, like, what is the need for another rugby podcast? But I don't think, from the research I've done, I don't think there's a podcast out here like that. So I don't think there's a player and a referee doing a podcast together. There's plenty, but I think this is going to be fresh. We're young. We're going to come with different perspectives of the game. So I'm really interested to see how we're going to go. Before we go, if anyone's not from the Instagram, we'll leave the Instagram in the bio of this video. If everyone's going to check out, please go and drop a follow, leave a subscribe on this as well, and a like.
The women's premiership game, which has not failed with these results. First, we're going to start off with the Exeter game against Durham Sharks, which was a 76-5 win for Exeter. Stigo?
Yeah, so Exeter's 6th straight win in a row, not surprising. DMP, Durham Sharks, struggling, but I know, everyone knows who watches the women's game, how young they are, how inexperienced they are. I feel like, I don't know if they're a new club. I don't think they're a new club, but I see the work, the graph they're putting on and off the pitch. It's just a form. It's just to get these young people, females, game time, let them play some rugby. But Exeter, comprehensive winners again. And I believe the game was played at Sandy Park, which is really good. Get to play at a main game. Okay.
Wasps versus Saracens. This was one of the highlights of the weekend, with Wasps edging a 26-24 win over tabletoppers Saracens.
Yep, so Abby Dow scored a worldie off a solo try. She must have beat 6-7 defenders, just left them. For me, easily securing her place on the wing in the England side. Such an explosive runner. You don't expect it from her. She's not the most built winger. You've seen bigger wingers, but she's so powerful, so quick, so light on her feet. yeah, Wasps, they're working hard. They're doing well. They've had some close games the last few weeks, but this will be happy for them. This will make them happy. Saracens are top. And the Abbey Down try is on social media, so we're going to try and get footage of it and put it on the Instagram.
Moving on to Loughborough Lightning versus Worcester. This was quite a convincing win, an impressive win for Loughborough as well, with Lightning beating Worcester 43-14.
Yeah, so with Loughborough, this is our local women's side, so our knowledge is a bit better on these. Loughborough looking better and better every week. Obviously, losing Katie Daly-McLean at the start of the season, she went off to Sale. Obviously, had to fill in another role at the 10, which the 10 stepped in really well. Such an exciting runner, such an exciting player. Lark Davis, top of the try scoring tally, and she scores again. Honestly, she can't stop scoring. For me, has to start for England in the hooker position.
Yeah, and just to comment on Lightning's, they've got such good strength and depth from the links with the uni, and obviously congratulations to players that have made the GB squad, which is quite a few from Lightning, and also congratulations to the rest of the women from the league that have made the GB squad, which we'll also put on our social medias soon. Moving on to Gloucester Hartbury versus Bristol, West Country derby, and Gloucester winning convincingly with 36 points to nil.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting this. West Country derby, you always expect to close up. I haven't seen the game, so we're only judging from an outside point of view from the scoreline, which for me, Natasha Hunt grabs 2, class player, always has been, consistent for the last couple of years. I think she's had a few injuries though, which kept her out of the England setup. But yeah, convincing win. It's really good, obviously, with the links with the university, and obviously to win a West Country derby. Congratulations to them.
Yeah, especially bouncing back from their round 12 defeat to Saracens, and I think they've done that in convincing style as well.
I'd agree.
Moving on to the last match of the weekend, which was Sale Sharks and Harlequins. Harlequins away to Sale, and they beat Sale 45-5.
So for me, Harlequins women's are probably the most exciting team to watch in the league, regardless of league position. The talent they have around the park, especially Jess Breach, probably one of the standout names. When you think of England women's rugby, you go, at the minute for me, you go Jess Breach. So quick. I remember when she burst onto the scene a few years ago, and I think it was Canada she played against. And I think it was something like she played like so many games and scored like 9 tries.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you can just tell when someone's that good, she's going to go places. She's already, for me, England's starting winger, alongside Abby Dow, who I mentioned earlier. But Kate Daly-McLean with Sale, probably one of the best 10s in the women's rugby I've seen in my life. Just couldn't stop the onslaught. And for me, Quins just are going to keep going. And for me, this women's Premier 15s is just growing year on. We need more that media push. There is a lot, and all games were live streamed over the weekend, I believe.
Yeah, is
that right?
Which was yeah.
So it just need more push from media. The problem is we're going to talk about social media in a bit more detail later, but you see women's get posted by England Rugby. You just see so many derogatory comments, and it's just not on. It's puts them down. They work hard. They graft on and off the pitch. They have to work in the week and then turn up to games. And the rugby is actually really interesting. If people stop being so stubborn and just actually started watching it, I think they'll get a lot out of it because it's very entertaining. So if anyone with a bit more knowledge, where you're a coach, player, supporter of the Premier 15s, drop us a message on the Instagram. I'm going to try and get you on the podcast because me and Elliot both want to learn. We want to teach everyone else more about it. I think having someone on with more of an insight into the league will massively help us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So moving on to the Gallagher Premiership games this weekend, starting off with the Exeter game, which did include another red card, Digger.
Yeah, so Sale came out 25-20 victors, Exeter's second loss in a week. Obviously, last week, the controversy between the end of the game when Christoph Ridley said that Joe Simmonds moved, and I think it was Ollie Slightholme kicked the ball out, which rugby fans went mental because you know what Twitter's like. Referee makes a decision, bang, everyone goes at him, everyone's going crazy at the ref. But footage came out. I believe he made the right decision. Obviously, this is last week's game, but this week, Sale at the AJ Bell, tough place to go to on a Friday night. Anywhere's a tough place to go on a Friday night, but especially there. I think Alex Sanderson's doing a class job. I was noticing that Saracens thinking he's one of the best. For me, easily future England coach. Just such a good job. And at Sale, I think he's building a culture. So some players who stood out. Lou Diaga, second row, engine room, unbelievable. He was man of the match. I haven't seen a performance like that from a second row in a while. Just massive figure who just takes people to take him down. Curtis Langdon, hooker, looking class at the minute, consistent every week, throwing, carrying, tackling, works hard. He played the full 80 as a front rower. I don't play front row, so I don't know how hard that is, but people always say it's hard to play full 80. And they've got talent on the bench, but they just can't take him off because he's that good. But obviously the talking point, which I'm going to talk to you about, Jack Yendall, red card. Ian Whitten had Curtis Langdon in a neck roll. Jack Yendall flew in, shoulder to the head. Easy red card for the ref. But the problem is, it's Jack Yendall's first card in over 200 games, so I felt sorry for him, but it's silly. As from why don't players learn? We had 5 red cards last week. Why can't players learn that they can't be doing this at ruck time? It's so silly. From you being a referee, what's your opinion on it all?
Yeah, it's going to take a while for players to adjust. And obviously, with the reports coming out with, concussions and knock-on effects long term, there's no problems with bringing it now. Player safety is paramount.
It's so dangerous, though. The player, Curtis Langdon, in that position, he's already got his neck. He's already in an awkward position. He's not affecting the ball anymore. For Yendall to run in, I'm sure we're saying this now, watching the game, thinking, why have you done that? But when you're in the moment of the game, Yendall, like any player, clears the ruck out. It's hard. Obviously, we're coming on this podcast. We don't want to be slagging players off because obviously that's not what we're about. But we've got to put player safety, player welfare first. And the Rugby's Going Soft brigade on Twitter, I don't really know what they're on about. We want rugby back, what was like 20, 30 years ago, which was not safe, and that's why players are coming out with concussions and stuff like that. But in a row, no way are they struggling. We're trying not to mention Sam Simmonds' name, even though we had a class game again, because it's in everyone's name. It's just on the tip of everyone's tongue. Sam Simmonds, Sam Simmonds, Sam Simmonds. I'm gonna, when we talk about the international games, I'm going to talk about why I don't think he's in the England setup, which might cause some controversy. But let us know why you don't think Sam Simmonds is in the England setup in the comments below. So do you want to move on to the Bristol game?
Yeah, so Bristol won at home to Leicester, 17 points to 3. I would say, Stigo, that score doesn't really reflect the game entirely.
No, I'd agree with that. Bristol, from me, they look full strength, but obviously they weren't, because obviously no Randall, no Sheedy, no Radrada. He wasn't playing, was he?
No, he wasn't playing in the team, no.
You normally do. For me, Charles Piatow, 23 carries, freak of nature. You can kick the ball to him. He can be pinned in a corner with 6 defenders block him in a corner, gets out. Honestly, I'm starting to doubt if he's human at this rate. He's probably one of the best fullbacks in the league, maybe in the world at the minute. I think Pat Lam has built a culture at Bristol which allows players to play just with a lot of fluidity. You see Bristol, they'll get the ball. John Afoa, prop, tips. So they love playing out the back. They love playing this expansive rugby. And if you get Bristol round, like if they attack your outside, you're struggling. But Leicester, rotated team. We got to see the likes of Dan Kelly, who's only 19, Jack Van Portfleet at scrum half. We would have seen George Martin, but obviously he got a call-up team in the squad, which is amazing for him, amazing for the club. Shows what Borthwick's doing. But for me, the interesting bit is Leicester probably should have came away with a point. They had a couple of chances to score, but they hit the forwards, set them all up nicely, and then it runs out of ideas. We hit Kelly, who I think is a class 12, 19 years old, doesn't look out of place, but he was helped by having a Maroney outside him. Came out with 2 turnovers, defensively solid. I don't think he probably didn't miss a tackle game. Got a yellow card, which for a deliberate knock on, I don't think you saw it, Elliot, but I can't remember the other ball. Bristol player passed it inside, and it looked for me like he's passed it into Maroney's arm. Obviously, Maroney's gone with one hand. It probably is a yellow card, but it was one of those what helped Bristol score. Because Maroney was probably the best player on the pitch for Tigers, alongside Tommy Ruffell, who, for me, I think he's captain Wales 18s, captain Wales 20s. He probably will end up captaining Wales in the future. I know it's a big shout, but he just looks class. And I think it's Borthwick's showing the change of Leicester, letting the youngsters play. But I think if we sent a similar team last year under any management to Bristol away, I reckon they probably would have put 50 points on us. So I think that shows how far Leicester have came. But Bristol win again, wasn't pretty, but 4 points got
the Newcastle 25-22 win over Harlequins, which was, especially with the form Harlequins have been in, it was quite impressive for Newcastle. Yeah,
so I think Quinn's probably made a mistake. Will Evans, I think, is out injured anyway, but they had Don Brandt on the bench, Marcus Smith performing every week. Should he be in the England side? Let us know. But they rested a couple of players, which obviously Newcastle haven't played in a few weeks due to COVID. So obviously they're going to be far out of the blocks. Logovi Malupola scored, which is nice to see because he's just signed a new contract for them for the next few seasons. He looks slimmer, looks more mobile around the park. Brett Connon scored a late penalty to hand. It's actually Quinn's first loss of 2021, and I think that might be their first loss since Gustav left.
Yeah.
What's your opinion on Quinn since he's left?
Well, you can sort of tell. I think they've been given that freedom now. That freedom to, those individuals like Marcus Smith have been, given that. Well, the pressure's sort of been lifted, and he's able to play his style, and many others. And you can see it's clearly working, especially with those. Was it 3 wins on the bounce?
Yeah.
I just feel
good performances as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So Tyrone Green, winger, he's normally on the bench for Quinns, but he started. He scored 2 worldies. I think they're both on social media. We'll try and get them for the Instagram page. But he made 129 meters, which if people get to watch the game or his tries, he's quick. But I know we say Louis Rees-Sammet's quick, Johnny May's quick, but then the small plays coming through. Rapid, proper quick guy. Looks good. Maybe pushing for a starting place on the wing for Quinns. I know how good they're looking recently. It's so important that Marcus Smith signed that contract. It's so important that Don Brandt will sign his contract when he needs to, because they're the players they need to build around. Wasps.
Well, Wasps lost at home to London Irish, 16 points to 10. Stigo.
Yeah, so London Irish, obviously last week, getting thrashed at half time to Bristol, and suddenly scored massive revival. I think that helped them in that second half performance. Tom Parton, 15, looking class. Always class for the under-20s. I know people say should Daly be in the England side, but fullbacks we've got coming through, whether that's Anthony Watson going to play fullback, whether that's Freddie Stewart at Tigers, consistent, whether he's ready or not. Then you got Tom Parton, always consistent under-20s. London Irish is looking class at the minute. Paddy Jackson, I know people have mixed reviews, and we don't really want to get political on here about him, but he's probably in the form of his life at the minute. He could probably walk into the Ireland side, but obviously a lot of political views around him, which we don't really want to get involved in, because obviously it's a controversial topic. But he scored 11 of Irish's 16 points in the huge away win at Coventry, which is leading them perfectly in line for the Friday night kickoff this week against Tigers, which will be a close game, because obviously Tigers are looking good. Might go full strength. We'll be eyeing up the next 2 wins over London Irish and Gloucester. But London Irish, you can't write them off. There's not a team really at the minute that I'm thinking you're going to struggle, but obviously the next few weeks will help us. Wasps are really struggling the last 2 games. I don't really know where that's coming from. They looked really good. Jake Maggott, again, he's been rested the last few games because obviously he had a lot of trouble on social media. I know he deleted them. It's just social media. We need to have a full episode on it, because it's just not on. People are happy to preach about this be kind thing, but obviously we're going to talk about that in a minute.
Gloucester getting their first win with a 22 points to 14 win.
Yeah, so I managed to catch a bit of this game. I flicked it on. Nick David, 65 metres out, gets the ball from Chris Pennell, it might have been. He's gone. Bang. 58 seconds in, scores. You're thinking, Gloucester, you're in for a long day again. But they're experienced heads. Ed Slater especially, I think they call him the people's captain. Loves it, loves rugby. In the engine room, 3 turnovers, which is good for a second rower. Just Gloucester just need players like that to stand up. They're struggling. They've got 12 trees at 10. I know it's not his natural position, but he'll work hard. Obviously, he's been at Gloucester years since leaving Tigers. Capable player. Will be able to do that. But obviously, with Cipriani leaving, they've brought in the Scottish Adam Hastings is going to Gloucester next year.
Yeah,
which massive for them. Hopefully, he can show his form. Gloucester's a team where you go to Gloucester, full stadium. It's probably one of the worst places to go for the fans because the fans are class. As an away player, you really struggle. Worcester, Andrew Kitchener made 22 tackles. Good record, but is that good for them, having to make so many tackles? I think they're struggling. Ollie Lawrence will come back. Ted Hill, I don't know where Ted Hill was. I haven't really read into the Worcester bit. But those two need to build around, otherwise they will leave and just go off to better teams. Anything from you on that?
No, moving on to Northampton Bath. Quite
game
an
of the week.
Game.
Yeah. Game of the weekend for me. Northampton start. I was watching that. I thought, I think Northampton will get an easy win here. Tom James, I think he signed from Doncaster. Might have been Doncaster. I think it was Doncaster. Had it scored in the Prem. Scored 2 quick tries. There was a mistake by Will Muir, who joined a Mole. Shuntar should have probably stayed on his wing, but he, for me, he reminds me of Johnny May, but like a bulkier version. Runs with his knees high, doesn't care. Will run into a prop, second row if he needs to. From England Sevens, but for me, he might be a little bolter for me for either the England or the Lions, even line selection. Which, a few weeks when we know more about the Lions, I think we're going to do an episode on that. Who we think potential bolters and everything. But yeah, Bath came out on top 23-22. Priestland hasn't missed a kick in 30 kicks now. So it's stupid like that, 29, 30 kicks. Hit a record. Miles Reed does the dirty work, gets unnoticed. Was ginger, obviously he's ginger hair, loves it, hits people, turnovers, and then Tom Dunn came on. I think the moment of the game was Northampton had a scrum 5 metres out. Bath had been dominated in scrum. I think we'll face that. And they'll take a bit of a while to decide. And Tom Dunn screaming at the Northampton players, scrum, scrum, scrum. Cheers it. Next thing, they win a penalty. His leadership, his passion. And for the last 6-7 minutes, all you hear was Bath, Mercer, Tom Dunn screaming. And I think they brought on 2 young lads. Brought a lad in the second row, was 18 years old, didn't look out of place. So that's always good to see Premiership clubs using youth. Ben Spencer, why is he not in the England side? I think that's a topic. I know he's 29, but he's class. Made a tackle on, I'm just going to call him Big T because I don't really want to pronounce his last name. But yeah, he's not a bad player. Anything for you?
Priestland deserves a call up to the Welsh squad on that form.
No, we'll discuss the Wales, but for me, fly halves. Priestland's obviously going. Is he going back to Wales? I know he's signed for a club. He's leaving back.
Yeah, he's going back.
For me, Sheedy. I know we're going to talk about Sheedy, but he's Wales 10. Big is good, but Sheedy's class. And I'm sure we're going to talk about that next.
Yeah, so moving on to the Six Nations, starting with the first match. Italy versus Ireland, with Ireland taking 48 points to 10. Yeah,
so nice to see some debuts. Craig Casey, little 5'3" guy. I saw him stood next to the scrum. Thought, I know there's no crowding, but I didn't know if a little kid had ran off from his parents. He's class. He's a little. You always get those players where he'll dump tackle 8s. He's from Munster. He reminds me of like what Stringer was. How good Stringer was. How quick he was. Reminds me of him. Puts his body on the line. Will Connor from Leinster and Hugo Keenan. Unbelievable performances. I know how good Will Connor is, young lad. Hugo Keenan at fullback. Rob Carney's shoes are massive to fill, but he's not doing a bad job at the minute. I know you want to talk about a bit about the refereeing, but I think we'll cover that in the Wales game, and we can cover both games from the refereeing point of view. But with Italy, do you see Italy improving at all, or do you think they're just a lost cause in the Six Nations?
At the moment, I'm not seeing an improvement. they have sometimes they have these one game wonders, but it's just not consistent enough. And I know there's been rumours about bringing Georgia up, or at the moment it's one of those games where teams are seeing it as maybe a development game for younger players, or
yeah,
games where they can just take points, straightforward bonus points.
And that's not what we want.
Yeah, it's just not testing enough. So maybe it might be. Do you think it's time to bring in another team into the Six Nations?
It's the thing is, we saw Georgia in the Autumn Nations Cup where they started performing, but it's interesting. Italy. I know it's been so traditional to keep Italy in, but do you get rid of Italy and bring in Fiji, or do you have I know there are divisions, but there's only relegation and promotion from the ones below this, and I know that's where you find your Georgias, your Romania, your Germanys. But how long can we thought Italy were on the up. We saw, they're actually starting to perform now, but they just seem like they're going downhill. If we can get like an Italy supporter, obviously with some form of English, because we can't speak Italian, just to come on and give their point of view, why they think they should be in it or why they don't think they should be in it, or what's going wrong. Just drop us a message and we'll try and get you on. But with Ireland, with their players available, how long can they keep using Sexton? How long can they keep using like Conor Murray before they need to obviously use Craig Casey or like Billy Burns? Unbelievable for Ulster, but I think he's struggling to transfer like his form to Ireland, and I'm not too sure why that is. Is that the players around him? What do you think on that?
I just think he needs to be given that time. I think he's only had a few games so far, coming on for Sexton as injury replacement, starting one game. I just think he needs that time to have that transition period to international level. And I think he's definitely got the ability, but at the end of the day, he's just needs to build that confidence up for me.
Yeah, that's all that covered. Should we go on to the game? Yeah. Should we just say the score and move on, or?
Yeah, we'll just say the score and move on, I think. But yeah, going to the biggest controversy of the weekend: Wales 40, England 24.
Yeah. So I think first we discussed just how good Wales were. Yeah. Obviously, being English, very annoyed with the game, very annoyed with the results. But obviously, as a rugby fan, you have to appreciate Wales. Some say they don't deserve it, but they do. Their discipline was a lot better. They played the referee a lot better. Bigger class. You look at Bigger going, yeah, he played well. He's noticed when England, they kind of got inside England's head, and then the game started getting closer. And you're thinking, how have England stayed in this? And then Sheedy comes on. The Bristol lad comes on, turns it up, grabs the game, gets on with it, kicks his points. And for me, he's Wales' starting 10 for me. I think he's unreal. That form. So people are saying he got selected on form last season. Why didn't England do the same with Joe Simmonds? Why didn't he get selected if it's on form? If that's how good Sheedy can be with his form last season, why isn't Joe Simmonds in there? But that's just down to the coaching. And it's weird because Wales don't have many clubs to choose from, unlike England. But yeah, they were very good. Talupe Faletau at 8. Is he just secured his place at Lions at 8? Or what? What do you think on the Wales team?
To be honest, I know it's controversial with obviously having 2 red cards in previous matches, and obviously the controversy around yesterday's game. But I think, yeah, like you said, you have to give them credit. They are playing well, especially when Sheedy came on yesterday. He really did turn that game around. And yeah, I really do think Wales are progressing in the right direction now. You know, I know people were wanting Pivac out, but I really am starting to think that Pivac's plan, tactics are starting to take shape now. So, you know, give it more games and I'm sure, you know, they'll be fighting.
Yeah, so obviously probably where a lot of people want to hear us talk about, where did England go wrong? For me, we think about the players who haven't performed well. Billy Vunipola, I thought he was actually very good. He did his job as an 8, and this is where I'm going to talk about Sam Simmonds. 12 tries, 11 games for Exeter. Why is he not in the England side, whether that's starting or off the bench? For me, from what I'm thinking, what Eddie Jones could be thinking, he doesn't play like a number 8 role. I don't see him hitting many rucks. I see him carrying a lot. I see his offloading skills, but I see him playing more as a 6-7 or a centre. For me, I don't think you see who Eddie Jones has picked at 8. He's picked Nathan Hughes, Billy Vunipola. He's picked Tom Curry, which was out there for him, but obviously he was with the players he had. But Vunipola was good. Farrell just got fully rattled, which we're going to talk about Pascal Gauger in a minute. But I don't think Sam Simmonds fits the mould until England get a new coach. And you're thinking about the new coaches for England. I don't know how long. Hopefully Eddie Jones stays for a while because I think he's a class coach. With his record, people go on Eddie out. It's been like a few losses in the last few years. It's just stupid comments. And obviously people are allowed their opinion, but it's suddenly England lose. Eddie out, Eddie out, Eddie out. Every team has a dip in form. Whether he's picked the wrong players or not, that's his opinion. He's the England coach. You see a lot of professionals come out and it's just constant Sam Simmonds. But I reckon we just stop talking about him because he's not going to be called up. For me, Don Brandt's more likely to be called up. I think he fits the mold a lot better. I think with Eddie Jones, he sees the players in the camp every day, whereas we see a game and that's it. He obviously can choose his best team from that. The comments, it's just the comments that for me, Eddie Jones knows the players to do the job. Once he's done the tactics and everything like that, that's his job done. He sees them in training, he goes, because people are talking, why isn't a dog not getting any game time? But he might not be good in training. He's good for his club. He might not be the right player in training. They might go, he's actually doing a bit of a better job. He's doing a better job, but obviously we only see them from the game. So I think it's obviously it's everyone's opinion. I think everyone would like to see a team with Don Brandt, Smith, Simmonds, Lawrence, but can you chuck all the players who play with flair, who just play? Can you put them all in a team and will they play well together? You can't just chuck. It's weird because you think you need your best players, but you can't just chuck your best players in a team. It won't work like that. You need a team who will work together. And I think with Cipriani, the reason he never got into the England side, he was so happy to improve his attacking game. He didn't really want to spend time in his defensive game. And obviously that's just from my point of view. It's not anything I've heard. But I think he just was happy to sort out his attacking game and didn't want to be a team player pretty much. But I'm happy to be proven wrong with anyone with better facts than me. But let's talk about Pascal. Is it Pascal Gauger? Is that right?
Yeah, Gauger, yeah.
I don't know how to say it with a French accent. So we'll start off with his first decision. So he's penalised England. I think it was an Owen Farrell tackle or not rolling away.
Yeah, not rolling away. As he called it, slowing the ball down. He's obviously warned them for continuous penalties. He's asked him to go and speak to his team. Owen Farrell's gone that. They're all in the huddle. Obviously, Bigger says, let me know when time's on. And out of nowhere, he puts time back on. Bigger kicks it cross field and scores in the corner. And I just don't get how you've gone time off. There's 2 water carries on for Wales. There's 3 for us, for England. I don't know how you expect players within a few seconds to cover 30 meters, without actually telling them you got time on. He just sort of put time on. Obviously, Bigger said and went straight for it. You've got to at least let the players set before you put time back on, especially when you've just warned them.
Second decision. Obviously, it's a weird one because obviously, is it a knock on? Is it not? What is the ruling? Rees-Zammit. There's going to be a photo we're going to put on the Instagram of Rees-Zammit's face when the try's given, which I don't think he even thinks he scored.
I think we might have a caption competition for that as well, for whoever gets the best caption for it.
Yeah. So Rees-Zammit's ran. He's caught the ball, but he's dropped it, hit his foot, and who scored? Was it him who scored, or did someone else finish it off?
I think someone else finished it off. I can't remember.
Yeah. But yeah, what was your opinion on that? Was it a knock on?
for me, he's lost control. I thought it hit wide, you know, and the refereeing standard across both matches has been poor. And I'm not sure how they referee in the Pro 14 and the top 14, but it's certainly worrying from what I've seen. The consistency with penalties, especially. There was one in the match for when a Atoje stripped the ball, and then he gave it for not releasing on the floor. And then second half, Wales did the same, but he allowed play on, turnover ball. You know, it was the same. For me, it was the same act. It's just the consistency. That's all from me. All players ask for, you know, those 2 tries. Yeah, I'm still mind blown by it. I can't even put it into words, to be fair.
Yeah, so forgetting the rugby now. Rugby's done. Rugby weekend. We look forward to filming next Sundays, and we're going to talk about the rugby from that weekend. But obviously, we'll let some people wake up. Obviously, the rugby noises will be still here, but obviously, some people might not be. We're going to do a all-time 15. So it's obviously a personal preference. There might be some, but like not biased choices, but there might be some choices of why. So I've got a couple of players in my team which should be really in an all-time 15, but for me, watching them growing up and watching them is really like they've just really like resonated in me. So we're going to talk. So we're going to give our front rows each, and then we're going to decide who our starting 15 will be.
Yeah.
So I'll go first. So Lou said I've got Tendai Matawaria. Hooker, I've got Dane Coles, and 3, I've got Martin Castro-Giovanni.
So I've got Marcus Ayerza, Dan Coles, and Dan Cole.
So personally, I think we go Matawaria. I think what he did for South Africa has been class. I know Marcus Ayerza was a class, like a cult hero at Tigers. Did a job, but I think the Beast, we'll call him. I think probably nudges, maybe.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely. Have him in
Dane
a one.
Dane Coles is secure, unbelievable player. I don't think we need to say much more on him. 3, Castro or Dan Cole. Both did a class job, different eras. I think Dan Cole almost came towards the end of Castro's career at Tigers. I'm happy to go Dan Cole here.
Yeah, I think, you know, 2 Lions tours, many England caps, and still going strong now for Tigers. I think, yeah, he deserves a 3 spot for me.
Yeah, and then my 4 and 5, Brody Retallick, and not many people know, but I've gone for Steve Maffey at 5. Watching growing up, always remind me of his gloves. For some reason, I always remember him running and then pulling a muscle like a hamstring or something, which obviously probably isn't the best memory, but I think he was just class. Who's your second rows?
So I've gone for Alan Wynne-Jones and Martin Johnson. For Martin Johnson, and I think he just had that. He had that sort of class captaincy, but he also had that feisty side. Typical Eddie Jones sort of player. You know, he pushes the boundary. At times he pushed beyond it, but I think I
think Martin Johnson at 4, and I think we go Brody Retallick at 5. Brody Retallick for me is best second row of the modern era.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8. Thierry, I've got Thierry Dusatois. Not many people mention him, but unbelievable player for France. Richie McCaw at 7 and Sergio Parise at 8.
I've gone for 6 Etzebeth, 7 McCaw, and 8 Jasper Visa.
I'd personally say Dusatois at 6. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
7. McCaw's probably looking like he's going to be our captain.
Yeah,
and definitely. I think as good as Jasper Visa is now for Tigers, I think Sergio Parise carried Italy for many years on his shoulders.
Yeah, he's had a good long career and stint at Toulon and So
halfback pairing. I've gone for Aaron Smith and Dan Carter.
I've gone for Dupont and Johnny Wilkinson.
So completely different players. Like Aaron Smith, New Zealand legend, scrum half. I've never seen him have a bad game, but Antoine Dupont, for me, give him his career. If it goes the way it's going, I think he'd probably be the best player to maybe have graced rugby union. Such a young age control. It's weird. It's hard to explain how good he is. So I think we secure Dupont in at 9.
Yeah, definitely.
The Dan Carter, Johnny Wilkinson is literally all personal preference. Johnny Wilkinson, yes, kicked off both feet, class player, great kicker of the ball, but I don't think any 10 nudges what Dan Carter can do. Dan Carter, technically, I think he broke onto the scene, I think, wild and young. So one of the Lions tests, he tore England apart, maybe the first and second test. He was unbelievable. I think he has to play 10. And I think if you could see like a prime Carter and prime DuPont pairing, I don't think you get much better than that.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, definitely.
So we'll go wingers. So I've gone for Shane Williams, Little Magician, and Brian Abana.
Yeah, I've gone for similar with Shane Williams and Jonah Lumu on the opposite wing.
Yep, so Shane Williams is locked in. I don't, just watching videos of him, if you're younger or you just haven't really watched, go and watch Shane Williams highlights. You can be there all day. Never failed to amaze. Wingers, Brian Abana, Jonah Lumu, completely different players. Habana, rapid. Technically very good, actually, as well. You don't often see that. Technically good and rapid, but Jonah Lumu changed the game rugby was played, changed how a winger was built. You'd see 12, 13 stone wingers, little skinny, lanky wingers. And then he came along, ran over people for fun. I'm happy I never played against him personally, but I think he's easily in.
Yeah, his legacy is still living on, and he's one of those well-known players. He's just made such an impression on rugby as a whole. So, yeah,
losing him as well.
Yeah.
Okay, centres. I'm going for Mar, Nonu, and Conrad Smith. Personally, for me, the best centre combination to ever play rugby.
I've gone for something slightly different. I've gone for Semi Radradra and Manu Tuolangi.
Yep, completely different players. Nonu, maybe the best 12.
Yeah, I'd say so.
I'd say Nonu at 12, and then Conrad Smith. He was just 10 out of 10 performances every week. He obviously had Carter and Nonu, but he let them have the credit. Just get on with it. He was unbelievable, but then Semi Radradra, he's same as what I was talking about Piatau earlier, freak of nature. Like, it's something about these Pacific Islanders which are just different gravy, really, aren't they?
Agility.
Happy with those two?
Yeah, definitely.
And fullback. So I've gone a bit out of the box here. I've gone for Quade Cooper. I've never seen someone with footwork like it. He can jump in the air and step someone in the air. It's just mad. And then who's your fullback?
I've gone for Jason Robinson.
Yeah, so probably it's another subject that we'd love to cover, but obviously just ethnicity-wise, different ethnicities. I know he's done a lot of interviews, but I'd love to get, like, when you talk about dream guests, which we're going to talk about in a second, he's probably up there. His story is amazing. To come from league, tore league up, tore union up, guy did everything. So I think we're pretty much happy to go with him.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a little edit. We'll get our select 15. We'll call it the Ruck Off All-Time 15. We'll put it on the Instagram page when this comes out. And yeah, if you disagree, let us know why. Let us know who should be in the team. Okay, so let's just finishing off. Obviously,
just before we move on, some breaking news from the England game. They're not going to file in a report against Pascal Gazer. Opinions?
Yeah, it's what it is, really, isn't it? He's what we've been discussing over the last few days since it's happened. He'll have his team who will be reviewing that, and probably, maybe, I would say they might agree with it or they might not. But obviously, we saw it with Joubert at the World Cup a few years ago, and he kind of just disappeared off the radar for a couple. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but I just don't think the standard of his refereeing is good enough. And for a fact, I don't think the standard of the French refereeing as a whole is good enough. So that's something they really need to look at. But obviously, it's easy enough for me to say as a player, I've never refereed, so I don't want to be too judgmental. Going back to that game, and Sonia McLaughlin, she interviewed Farrell. I thought it was a good interview, asked the right questions.
Yeah,
Farrell. Yeah. Do you want to read the tweet out?
The tweet says, toxic, embarrassing, disgraceful, appalling. Just some of the feedback I've had. Thanks for the @sign. It's all hit home now. Now imagine getting inundated with abuse for doing your job. I'm now crying in my car. I hope you're happy.
Wow. It's deep, isn't it? She's done a job, and she's just, I've seen some of the, it's weird. like, I don't want to get political or anything, but with Twitter, it's a really good platform. Social media is a really good platform, but you've seen it with celebrities. Mental health is such a big thing, and I really want to do an episode on it. We can probably get a good episode. So obviously you've got some stories, and I've got a couple of guests who want to come on and talk about it, which I'm going to try and get them on. But it's not healthy. We're too happy to suddenly preach, be kind, and everything. But then one person makes a mistake. I understand there's a joke, but not when you're just being personal. She's done a job. She's actually probably one of the, I'm not saying this because of the situation, but she's probably one of the best in the game at it. And asking those questions, getting under people. The job of an interviewer is to get under people's skins.
Yes, and I'd love pressure on to get those answers.
Yeah. And I'd love to get someone on like that, just to talk about what they go through, how they talk about it, and how they have about their interviews, awkward interviews and stuff. But it's one of them where she shouldn't be getting that. And a lot of people have came out saying it, and probably the majority of people won't have realised what they've done. But there's a few who will know, and there's people who hide behind fake profiles. Social media really need to step up, especially in football. Racism, death threats, this happens in every sport, needs to stop. People need to be held accountable, really. And I think she'll bounce back. She'll keep doing what she's doing because she's very good at it, and she's got a lot of support around her, but it needs to stop.
Yeah, I think from the tweets, she's had a lot of support from her colleagues and stuff, and especially one key one from England Rugby, which I really liked, and that's rugby's core values, teamwork, respect, enjoyment, discipline, sportsmanship. We really need to, I think, start introducing them more into a lot of social media pages, especially around rugby. These are the core values of our game, and what she experienced totally goes against each and every one of those. And like you said, I think we definitely need to a social media element on one of the podcasts, because there's just so many directions you can go with it. And just having that amount of use for doing your job is it's shocking, really.
So I think that's pretty much everything covered. I've got a couple of things. Obviously, it's our first episode, so we're not expecting it to be perfect. We've obviously got to start getting a bit more comfortable, but we're actually really I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully, we can take a lot of people on with us. Keep people who love the sport interested. Introduce new people to the sport. Give them a bit of knowledge. We're looking at getting some guests on. We've got a few lined up. We want to get more. So if you know anyone, tag them in, share it with them, get them to follow our page, get them to drop us a message. We'll be messaging some people to get them on, but anything from grassroots to professional. We want to hear some grassroots stories. So obviously it's not talked about enough on podcasts. Semi-pro, how semi-pro players' lives are affected by it all. But some questions like dream guest. Do you have a dream guest that you'd like to get on?
For me, I think it'd be good to get a referee on. Maybe if we can, maybe a Premiership ref, because I think in today's game the Premiership referees are on point. They're developing the right direction, so it'd be good to get a bit of an insight on how their week looks, how they come to certain decisions under pressure, etc. So I think any Premiership referee will be quality and add a lot to our podcast, I think.
Yeah, I'm unsure on my dream guest. I'm sure it will come, but the more we get into the episodes, the more we find different topics.
Yeah.
But I'd like to get some semi-pro players on. I think that's really interesting, how they have to work and then play, and injuries, how they affect their work life and their personal life. Obviously, the major Prem players, but we're not expecting that straight away. I think a referee, I think someone like JP Doyle, obviously being let go by the Premiership, could be a really interesting topic. So obviously he's doing quite well after. Some coaches as well. They've got a lot of interesting stories, and just anyone who's just really wants to get into rugby, even if you haven't got much of knowledge, just talk about. We can get a little episode going. But yeah, I don't know how long it's been. Hopefully we haven't bored everyone. Hopefully it's been enjoyable. But I'm really I think we're going to enjoy the journey. Hopefully filming. So we're filming these on Sundays afternoons after all the games. We're yet to set a scheduled date, but we'll get that linked in the Instagram. Instagram's that's going to be below this video. Yeah. Pretty much just go over there, follow, get involved, comment some stuff, tag us on your stories. And then with this video, share it.
Yeah, definitely.
With this video, like it, subscribe, please, share.
I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
Cheers.